He ranks tight end 4 for Matthew, tight end 5 for Daniel, tight end 6 for me. Last year, he was tight end 6 with 11.0 points per game. There have been a variety of reports from those who are on the ground in Detroit every day that suggest he's been the best player in the Lions training camp this year. No surprise, he's electric. The idea when they drafted him 8th overall was for him to become the next in that line of dynamic game-changing tight ends. Hasn't quite happened at the level of production of a Kelsey or a Kittle or a Waller, Matthew, but could he be the next man to enter that tier?
I believe so. I mean, I drafted him before. I drafted him on the draft show last night. I believe there's a chance that this year he enters the Kittle-Waller tier of tight ends. He's slightly below them for me right now, but he's a firm number 4 for me. Last year, top 5 among tight ends in targets, receptions, and yards. And you just sort of think about how the Lions season is going to go this year. A lot of unknowns in the passing game, and we'll talk about them coming up in a second. But I think it is highly likely that passing game goes through T.J. Hockenson. I think there is a very good chance that he leads that team in yards and fantasy points and targets. My daughter's calling me on FaceTime right now.
Very normal.
Very normal. Like mother, like daughter. And so anyway, getting a tight end where the passing game goes through that player, I think is a great thing. So we don't expect Detroit to be particularly good this year. We think they're going to be throwing quite a bit. Give me some T.J. Hockenson as tight end 4.
Yeah, currently being drafted in the 7th round, which is interestingly because he's in the range of like Myles Gaskin and Brandon Ayuk, but he's sort of in a tier on his own in between Kyle Pitts and then the next wave of tight ends. You've got kind of this. There's a smorgasbord of tight ends coming after him.
He goes in the Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews area.
Yeah.
And like
a little later than Andrews this year, or at least on ADP.
Yeah, and I would rather have Hockenson. And I think Andrews is great, but I would rather have Hockenson than Andrews or Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, right ahead of Logan Thomas as well, by the way.
Logan Thomas got tight ends.
Yeah, and you put him ahead of your Logan Thomas, Matthew.
I put him ahead of my Logan Thomas.
I appreciate that.
Let's go back.
Where do you have it? What do you think?
On T.J. Hockenson?
Yeah, versus Andrews, Mark Andrews.
I've got Andrews a little bit ahead of him only because the touchdown upside is significant. And with Mark Andrews, and we have seen that year over year with him. I'm a little bit more concerned. Sorry, Daniel. We'll talk about it in greater depth right now, but the Lions actually finishing off drives. They may do some damage on occasional drives between the 20s, but this is a rebuilding year for Detroit. This is a year where it is not going to be quantified just by wins and losses. It'll be about how many players they can find that fit the program long term and sort of building the culture under this new leadership the way that they want it.
How many kneecaps they can eat.
No.
But I'm going to say this, Field Yates. I say T.J. Hockenson finishes the year with more fantasy points than Mark Andrews.
I say Mark Andrews finishes the year with more fantasy points than T.J. Hockenson. Put it on the board!
Put it on the board.
Thank you, Daniel. Well done by you. Let's go back to Jared Goff here for a second, Matthew.
Yeah.
We can be quick. He is not ranked by anybody this year in fantasy. Nope. It just feels like between the lack of rushing upside, the lack of passing game weapons that are established around him, the offensive line should be pretty good, but I don't think this is a year where Jared Goff is going to be cracking fantasy lineups routinely.
I agree.
There we go. We can leave it right there.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.